And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to die in this field. Like that was my last thought. Then next thing you know, I now am in the air about 20 feet looking down at someone laying in the field. And all I remember is I'm super confused. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't have a concept of what's happening. I just see someone laying in the field and I'm looking at it and I'm confused and I focus in and it connects like, whoa, that's me. And as soon as I recognize it was me, now I'm pulled up and now it's all bright white light. And I'm standing there and once again, still confused, like wondering what's going on. And then I see my life kind of being reviewed, like my all these life things, and I see my sisters at my funeral.
I'm here with Tom Beal. Tom had a near-death experience on 9/11 of 1998 and is here to share that experience with us. Thank you so much, Tom, for being my guest. I'm really excited to have you today.
Thanks for having me, Tia. I'm so excited to be here sharing this near-death experience with your audience as well. And my hope is it's an amazing conversation that opens up and connects some dots for them to live their life fully and unapologetically. So if you want, I can jump right in. So as Tia mentioned, September 11th, but not the September 11th we all remember where we were. If you're old enough, you know exactly where you were 3 years later, September 11th, 2001. This was September 11th, Friday, September 11th, 1998. And I'll just get into how the day unfolded. It actually was an amazing day. It was a Friday. I was in the copier sales industry and I just closed a large contract. And it was very exciting. At that time, that was the most money in commissions I had ever earned in my life. And let's see, it was September of 98. So I was born in 72. So I was 25 years old, going to be turning 26 in a couple of weeks. So here at 25 years old, I just closed the biggest deal I'd ever closed and earned the most commissions in one day that I'd ever earned in my life. So I had also recently broke up with a girl that was living with me. So we broke up and there was some still conversations happening and stuff. So after I closed that deal, I went and visited her and talked to her at work. She was a bartender at a restaurant. I can't remember. It wasn't Chili's. It was Chili's, at Chili's. So I met her and was just talking with her and stuff like that. And then I drove home, and that was in Victor, New York. And I drove home to Geneva, New York. And later on, she texts me like, "Hey, I'm going to this club. Meet me there." Like, bet game. Like so I get up, I get dressed and drive from Geneva to Farmington to this club. And I'm driving a little faster than I should have been driving. And on this country road, I was in a single car accident. And basically what happened was it's a little bit of winding road and it's a road that doesn't have a shoulder. So, you know, if there's that white line on the outside of the lane, and then there's usually gravel and or usually some pavement or whatever they call the roads before it gets to gravel. Well, this had the white line and then it was gravel. So I was going too fast. And I went over the white line and got in the gravel and spun sideways. It caught traction. I went over into a field and I hit an embankment in the field. And all I remember is saying, uh-oh, this isn't going to be good. And I hit the embankment and landed in the field and it rolled 4 times. And in that rolling, I was unconscious, but I was ejected from the sunroof. And now, so I'm laying separate from the vehicle in this field. And I came out of, I was unconscious. I came out and I knew something was wrong, like, whoa. And I tried standing up. I couldn't stand up. I fell back down. And I said, well, someone will be here soon. That was about 10 p.m. When the accident occurred. And it wasn't until close to midnight. It was right before midnight when the paramedics showed up because it was in this country road in this field. The closest house was a decent distance away at the edge of the field. And what happened is the family was asleep and they heard some noise. The father got up, looked out the window, didn't see anything because in the car rolling, the battery fell out. So there were no lights or anything. So he got up, didn't see anything in the field, went back to bed. And I found out through one of my stepbrothers who ended up being a first responder at the fire department. And he worked with some people that were the first responder to this accident. And this is how I know this story. So he knew, like, he went back to bed, even though he didn't see anything. He's like, something happened. Like, so he got up and called 911 and said, I don't know what happened. I heard a big noise. I don't see anything out there, but I just have a feeling something's not right. So it was a long time. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to die in this field. Like that was my last thought. Then next thing you know, I now am in the air about 20 feet looking down at someone laying in the field. And all I remember is I'm super confused. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't have a concept of what's happening. I just see someone laying in the field and I'm looking at it and I'm confused and I focus in and it connects like, whoa, that's me. And as soon as I recognized it was me, now I'm pulled up and now it's all bright white light. And I'm standing there and once again, still confused, like wondering what's going on. And then I see my life kind of being reviewed, like all these life things. And I see my sisters at my funeral. And I was 25. My sisters were 10 and 12 years younger than me. So 15 and 13 years old at the time. I saw them crying at my funeral. And that just felt very painful. It felt like a real tearing my heart out. And I saw all that stuff happen. And then next thing you know, someone or something comes up and puts their arm around me, and all of the fear, all the worry, all of the pain goes away. And I just know that I am home. Like it's the most amazing homecoming you've ever felt. Like this is what it's all for, to come here home. And it was such a great feeling. And then when that happened, then we turned like 180 degrees, and now we're staring at these doors that open, and these doors are huge, like 30 feet, 40 feet high, just huge doors open and lights just beaming out of it. And we start walking towards the doors. And halfway there, I said, stop. This isn't how it's supposed to end. I know you had more for me to accomplish. Send me back. The next thing I remember is I'm in intensive care with a respirator breathing for me. And the only thing I can remember from that is it's really painful to be conscious with a respirator breathing in and out for you. So I'm struggling and I'm handcuffed to the gurney because apparently after I got helicopter lifted from the field to the University of Rochester Medical Center Hospital, when they tried putting the intubation down my throat, apparently I was throwing people around. Like, I don't remember this, and I've heard this is a common thing too. It's not too fun when you're kind of unconscious and they're putting that down. And I've had other friends that they too were throwing nurses and doctors around. So apparently I was throwing people around when they were trying to put the tube down my throat, but I don't recall that. And then fast forward a few hours later, many hours later, when my aunt finally showed up, they asked her, like, is he like some UFC fighter or something? Because he was like, we had to restrain him. So she talked to me. And even though I had what was called aphasia, I couldn't speak, but I could shake my head. She was telling me, like, if they take the handcuffs off, will you stay calm? I'm like, yeah, like, yeah, I could understand what she's saying, but I couldn't communicate. So they took the handcuffs off after they took the intubation out. And I was there with aphasia and also nerve damage in my leg. So the thing with aphasia is you're thinking what you want to say, but random words come out. And I didn't know what that was until I was experiencing it, but it was very frustrating. So they were asking me what my name was and who they could call, because apparently somehow, some way, I ended up at the hospital as a John Doe. And so here I was, and now my friends knew that I didn't show up at that club. They called my family like, hey, something's wrong. Tom is a man of, like, he's always there. Something's wrong. He wasn't there last night. And so I was missing. And then they were searching to find where I was. So I remember wondering why it was taking so long for anybody to come to intensive care to see me, but they were tracking me down. The hospital wasn't proactively reaching out, nor were the paramedics or officers. So they had to do a search to find out where I was. And then they showed up. And the doctors kept telling me, you may never walk or talk again. With the aphasia and the nerve damage, the severe head trauma I had and the nerve damage, they said they can't guarantee that I will walk or talk properly again. And I just shook my head no. So I ended up, once I could walk with a walker, I ended up signing a stack of early release papers to get out of intensive care because I didn't want to believe that I may never walk or talk again properly. I envisioned myself getting back to walking and talking properly. So from the near-death experience, I learned many lessons, but at this point, I'll stop Tia to ask you if you have any questions so far about the experience that I've shared so far.
I do. And when you talk about how beautiful it was and how peaceful when you were over there, what strength it must have taken for you to say, wait, no, stop. What brought that on? Do you remember? Was there, a feeling that you got?
It was mostly for my two sisters, like
Yeah.
just seeing the pain of them crying at my funeral and the emotions that had, I knew I had more to accomplish. And since then, I've done a lot of research. I've gone into speaking with people that fall into the woo-woo categories. And in essence, what I've learned from those that was people ask, was it Jesus? Was it something? I didn't know who it was, but in the research that I've done since, it was the Oversoul for me. So it was like the Oversoul that was there comforting me. And I knew, as did the Oversoul, it wasn't my time. So even though we were walking, it was so enticing. And so like, I'm home, and to be like, you know what, I got another mission. I know there's more for me to accomplish here. I'm excited to come home when it's my time, but I knew that wasn't my time. So that's why I felt like, even though it was so amazing, the pain that I saw my sisters in, and just knowing that my life had much more to contribute. And I knew that this wasn't how it was supposed to end. And since then, I've gone on to speak on stages around the world, impact. I was just talking the other day, like, I've spoken in front of audiences of 1,000, 500, 200, all over the world. So it's been at least 50 to 100,000 people that have heard my messages and helped them get from where they are to where they want in their life. And it's been, since that day, had that been the end, like, I now have two amazing children, a 19-year-old daughter and a 22-year-old son. Like, I had much more to contribute to the world, and I just knew that that wasn't how it was supposed to end. So yes, and then when there were hard times, because there were in the following years, and there always will be what we classify as hard times and difficulties and challenges. There were some rough challenges where I'm like, man, I should have just went home. Why did I stick around, right? Because life is like, I was in the United States Marine Corps, right? And in the Marine Corps, they have boot camp. And boot camp is a tough 3-month period where when you get in, you go to Paris Island is where I went to boot camp. You get there, you got drill instructors yelling at you. You're wondering, what the heck did I get myself into? And it's 3 months of rigorous training. And it's training to break you down and build you back up in that 3-month period. But I like to say life is very much like boot camp. Like, this is our boot camp, and our parents, our childhood. Like, I was born to teenagers, 17-year-old mother, 19-year-old father, raised around 4 divorces and 6 marriages as a child, went to 9 different schools by 8th grade, was on welfare most of my childhood. Always the new kid. I was a tiny kid getting picked on at the various schools, and lots of drama, chaos, alcoholism, abuse, neglect, you name it. We went through all that, but that was my childhood. That I wouldn't wish those circumstances on anyone, but that molded me into who I am and to be who I am now. So that childhood, and I'm not saying that in any way to diminish or say that I had it worse. I've talked and have friends that have had dramatically, exponentially worse childhoods. Like, but each of us had, or I'd have you consider, what if each of us, you watching this, Tia, you, myself, we all had the exact childhood we needed to teach us the lessons to be who we are right now. And so that near-death experience was just another lesson that I was to live through that could help me empower and help me share with other people. I mean, one of my main goals in speaking on stages and helping people get from where they are to where they want to be is, look, I want to like flip a switch on you to have the lessons that I have from my near-death experience without you having to go through that pain and trauma, like without you having to learn to walk and talk again. And like, how can you gain some insights that will, and here's the rub with humanity. A lot of humans, no matter how much you warn them, don't go down this road, don't go down this road, they're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about, I'm gonna go down that road. And then later on, they're like, man, I should have listened to him saying I didn't want to go down that road. So some people need to experience it for themselves, but hopefully, and it's worked, where I've been able to implant some insights in people that they can gain some of those powerful lessons without having to go through that pain and trauma.
Well, you were there in that moment. Did you feel lucid? Were you fully conscious, or was it kind of dreamlike?
It seemed real. Like, it's a dream, but it's a dream that felt real. Like, it's like, and it's just my experience, because you have some people saying it didn't happen, or I said, listen, like if there's a car accident and there's 3 people watching it, there's going to be 3 different stories of the car accident. I don't know what actually all that is. All I know is there's more happening than what we can see with our 3 senses, is what I gathered from my experience. It's like, there's much more to this journey that we call life. We can see and hear and touch and smell and taste, but other than that, there's a lot more happening. I mean, it's almost like that we're the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more happening beneath that we can't see until we just suspend. Like I always thought I had to do this. I had to do like, and now we just had this conversation before going live to you. I'm in the moment where being present is all that is mine to do. Be here in this present moment is what my job is as the joyous creator that I came here. And I would have you consider, what is my purpose? What is your purpose? What is your 2-word purpose? The reason you came here? to be in this human experience, to joyously create. You are a joyous creator. And when you just recognize you are good enough, you are loved, you are worthy, and you are an amazing, joyous creator, unique. Your personality, your experience, your perspective makes you extremely unique, different from everyone else of the 8 billion other humans on this planet. You're the one who has your personality, experience, and perspective. You joyous create in your unique way. And when you can detach from all the pain and all the sorrow and all the, I wish I would have said that differently. I wish I would have done that differently. You just recognize all of it happened perfectly for me to be here now. And there are, what if there is no right or wrong? It all happened exactly to teach me exactly what I needed to learn to be who I am right here, right now. And when you can just detach from any of that past and just be grateful for it, to be present in this moment and remove any anxiety about what's going to happen in the future, but just be here fully and unapologetically right here, right now, that's when the magic occurs, in my opinion, and in my life. And I would have you consider that. Like, you want to give the greatest gift to yourself and the greatest gift to everyone who comes into your vicinity. Give them the gift of your presence. Be present. And think about it. In this day and age, how many people are, when you're talking to them, they're like, and you just want to grab the phone and chuck it because you know they aren't listening to a darn thing that you're saying, right? So give that gift of presence, and you will see that it's a rare gift, because while you're talking, most people are, their mind is wandering about things they need to do or people they need to call, or planning and not being present. And you can notice when that's happening. But when you give that gift, you separate yourself. And I'll mention a couple names some of you may know. And this is the one thing that I took away from spending time with them. Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins in the personal development space. There's no one better than Tony Robbins. Like, he is the epiphany of that. Well, I spent a week at his island in Fiji with him. And in spending a week with him, the biggest takeaway that I have is there's no one that's more present than Tony. When you're talking to Tony, doesn't matter how many people are around, you're the only person that exists in his world. He is present at a level that is intense. And then the same thing with Brendan Burchard. If you may not know Brendan, Brendan's another, like, Tony's up here, Brendan's right behind him. Brendan was on Oprah and done a whole bunch of things with Oprah, and he's another close friend. And Brendan also has that level of presence that you just feel special. And if you can go around, like, how everybody's going through stuff, but when you give someone the gift of your presence and you're there, there's nothing else. Your mind is not wandering anywhere. It's there in that present moment. You're giving them a gift that is rare, and you make them feel special. And you listen and you volley with your personality, your experience, and your perspective. How can I add some value to this person? Everybody I cross paths with, it's like, hey, listen, I don't believe there's any accident. Of the 8 billion people, like, our paths cross for a reason. And so I know another quote I heard is, I'm a king among kings, not a king among inferior beings. Everyone I meet is a king or a queen in their own right. With their unique personality, experience, and perspective, there is something of value that I can get from them and something I can give to them. And I'm just going to, in that present moment is where you find it. If you just know that your next step is going to unfold perfectly and you're exactly where you're supposed to be in this moment, you have a level of peace that is rare, and you can have that level of presence, which is rare, and you will step up and shine. Everybody will be blessed that you cross paths with, and they'll say, man, that person is amazing. Like, that person really gets me, because you gave them that gift of presence. So anyhow, that was a couple diversions of your question, but hopefully there's some good value in that little discussion.
A lot of great value, actually. And it's so true. We don't give our full 100% attention, presence many of the times. And, when you think about students in school and they're kind of just napping, even. So it is very important. I agree. Is that something that you learned, that you took back from your near-death experience?
Okay, so a couple of lessons I took from the near-death experience. One was, I am confident from my experience, I'm not going to die a second earlier or a second later than when it's my time to go. That's number one. So what that translates in my life, I like to position it as, I'm immune to death until I'm not. And let that settle in for a little bit. Imagine if you were able to walk around life with the uncertainty. Like, because guess what? Life is always going to have a level of uncertainty. And guess what? In the United States, I had a friend of a friend's son who just posted a picture of his son in the hospital in Atlanta. He got mugged at a daggum gas station a couple weeks ago, and then he just got robbed at his home. And when I saw that, I was like, well, maybe the people that mugged him and got his wallet, maybe 2 weeks later they came back to his place, right? So there's a lot of stuff happening that, yeah, there's uncertainty where people could have fear. I choose to not live in a life of fear. There's either faith or fear in my particular journey, right? So I just know I'm immune to death until I'm not. So I walk around fearless. Now, that also means I have discernment. That doesn't mean to live recklessly and to run in the street with my eyes closed. Make discerning decisions to live as long as possible. That's my goal. But I also know when it's my time to go, that's probably the best moment of my life. Like in a weird way, like that's such a homecoming that I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking to maximize. The way I teach people is this is the greatest amusement park in the universe. And some people, how do you know that? Well, I don't know for sure, but go with me. What if this is the greatest amusement park in the universe? Being a human on Earth, the Earth is your amusement park. Just like any amusement park, when you're there, whether for it's a day or a couple days or a week, you're not sitting around complaining about politics, complaining about people. You're going for it. You're like, hey, what's next? What's next? What's next? You're walking with a purpose. You know where you are. You know where you're going. And you're going to maximize that day, those few days, or that week. So you fist bump everybody like, man, nobody went for it more than we did. What if you could transmute that little trip in this world as being human that we maximize for the amusement park? What if you can transmute that into your living your life with that level of purpose, that level of here's where I am, here's where I'm going, what's next, let's go, who's with me? All right, you ride another ride, okay, cool, we're walking to that next ride. And that, when you can transmute that into living your life like this is the greatest amusement park in the universe, it brings you a different level of excitement, of joy, of going for it. So the one lesson was I'm immune to death until I'm not. And that means I'm going to fist bump the people that are in my life that we went for it. Like when it is my time, it's my time. Hey, we didn't dilly dally. We didn't complain. And you could choose to do that. That doesn't bring me the most joy. As a joyous creator, complaining and all that negative stuff, I like to go up in the positive vortex arena. I like to create experiences. I like to have joy. I like to spread joy. I like to spread love. I like to empower people, help people. When you're immune to death, I now have an S on my chest. Like it's like I'm Superman. You're Superwoman. Like, but using your proper discernment. That doesn't mean to go be reckless, and you don't have to save everybody or anybody. There's nothing you need to do. Everything you do is a choice. I get to do this. I choose to do this. And every moment, just like at the music park, being in that present moment, what's next? And just picture you're at the greatest music park in the universe. What's next? What's next? What's next? Hey, you want to ride the ride again? Okay, cool. Let's do it. You do that a couple times. Okay, now what? Right? You don't want to ride all the rides. You only want one that bring you the most joy. Similarly, what adventures? Like I was just with my nephews last night creating vision boards. And you may have seen the movie The Secret. My good friend John Asseroff was in there talking about how he had that vision board. We put the house on it. And then 5 years later, his son asked what was in the box. He showed him. And he's like, whoa, we're in this house. Not a house like it. We're in this house that was on my vision board 5 years ago. Right. So we were doing a vision board assignment last night. And it was a good reminder for me because it's been a little while since I've done my own vision board. And so those little small things, it's like, okay, we're going to this amusement park. What are the rides I want to ride on this amusement park? What are the experiences I want to have? Who are the people that I want to have in my life? What adventures are we going to do together? Right? How are we going to have that joyous adventure? And I live. This is the view behind my computer here, but right behind it is this tight V, and there's big trucks that come, and sometimes they lay on the horn. There was just one truck here. I'm not sure if you heard it, but anyhow, island life. Little diversion there. So those are some of the lessons I learned. And I would like to help people embrace that and then also recognize you are good enough, you are worthy, and you are lovable. Those are some things we went deep with in the Tony Robbins trainings. Like that's like from my childhood, I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel lovable. It took many, many years for me to get over the guilt, the shame that I had accumulated in my childhood, feeling I wasn't good enough, I wasn't worthy, I wasn't lovable. So You're here. If you're watching this, like, it took me a lot of work, but I want to expedite that work. Just let you know, regardless of what you've done, regardless of any shame or embarrassment you've had, you are good enough. You are worthy. You are lovable. And what that translates into, you just being you. I have a statement that goes like this: I am me, F you. I am me, F you. The F you isn't what you think it is off the bat. F you is fully and unapologetically. I am me fully and unapologetically. And I literally, if I am me fully and unapologetically, as long as you're not hurting anybody, my goal is for you to be you fully and unapologetically. That's when we can all be our best self without having worries about what other people think or what other people, just be you fully and unapologetically, as long as you're not hurting anybody. And that would solve all the problems that many people are bickering about. Like, listen, you be you, I'm gonna be me. I don't need you coming in and telling me how to be me. And I'm not gonna go into you telling you how to be you. You be you fully and unapologetically. I'm gonna be me fully and unapologetically. We're not hurting anybody. Just go you, and you, like, I'm not gonna force you to ride the rides I want to ride at this amusement park. And you're not going to force me to ride the rides like I want to ride. You go ride your rides, I'm going to go ride mine. We'll meet up afterwards. That's cool. Right? So that whole amusement park analogy is something that people kind of get. And then also the I am me, F you. Once you can just own yourself, your unique personality, your unique experiences, your unique perspective, you can be you fully and unapologetically. You are good enough. You are worthy. You are lovable. Go be you, the best version of you that brings you the most joy, and be present along the journey. So those are some of the lessons I weaved into your question.
I like that, the FU, that makes it really kind of stand out and you remember that. That's
Right.
really, it was kind of funny. I like it. I want to go back to where you were talking about how you are going to die when you're supposed to die. So that's already set in stone. There's no changing it.
Mhm. There's there's it's the multiverse, right? So in my studies, it's the multiverse. So there are versions of me that died in the Marine Corps. Versions of me. There's actually, I think there's the version of me that died in that car accident. If you watch some of the Bashar stuff, I tap into people at channel, and Bashar says, I can't believe I lived through that. He's like, well, one version of you didn't. And here's why I think I'm in this, I'm happy, I'm blessed, I'm still in this timeline that I'm still here. But there's another timeline of me that died in that car accident. Like, so the multiverse, everything has three different paths. There's the yes, there's the no, and there's the default. So there's a path that died of me that died, a path of me that didn't die, and then there's another path. There's three for every choice we make. There's three paths of us. So that's multiple millions of us's a day based on the decisions that we make. All right. So anyhow, that's the multiverse. Um, so the reason I think I may have died, like, and here's the weird part. I ended up as a John Doe. And what I found out later from my brother-in-law, my stepbrother, who worked at the fire department, and they shared, when there's a helicopter lift of someone who's dead, they don't send the license. And so that's why I showed up as a John Doe. And then what I also didn't know is they have a fatality lot. My car was brought to the fatality lot. I didn't know there's a fatality lot. It was a single car accident. Well, my car was in the fatality lot, right? So that's like, wait a second. Like, so there's maybe, as Bashar said, if you had a situation where you fell down the steps, you're like, man, I can't believe I lived through that. There's a version of you that didn't live through that. So that, I think that there was a version of me that died in that car crash. So there are multiple exits, but in the multiverse, each of us making the choices that we make have different endings, but we all converge. Like, it's like the choose your own adventure books. Remember those as a child? I used to love those. Go to page 62, make the choice, right? So every choice we make leads to a different thing, but the paths all converge back to us exiting, right? If that makes sense. So
That makes a lot of sense. I like the choose your own adventure book analogy because I read those practically religiously back when I was a kid, and I would go back and reread them through all the different scenarios. So
exactly.
no matter what, the ending is already written. It's just
Yes.
what path you take to get there.
Correct. Right. And there's and here's the other thing. All the other lives are doing their lives. The only life that matters is you right here, right now, in this present moment. Like, just, you don't have to really comprehend the whole multiverse. It's a real mind-bending situation because time doesn't exist. The other element is it's all happening all at once. That's a real mind bender too. Like, the past, the present, the future, it's all at once. Like, in this moment, all happening. That's a real mind bender with the multiverse. The multiverse is tricky, but if you also, like Tia and I, enjoyed the choose your own adventure books, just recognize this life. The reason we like those books is because that's very similar to this journey we signed up to come here. And what if we chose to come here? What if we chose the energies that our parents brought to teach us the lessons we need to learn in this particular experience? And so if you just embrace that, like, you know what, I don't quite need to understand it, but I recognize I'm so thankful and grateful to be at the most amazing amusement park in the universe. And now I'm going to know that I'm good enough, know that I'm worthy, know that I'm lovable. I'm going to know that I am me fully and unapologetically. I'm going to stand up and be me, not hurting anybody, but just be me, not worried about what others say. Like, and that's a big thing in today's day and age. Well, what is so, like, if you can just be you fully and unapologetically, you're living your life on your terms, re, not worrying or being concerned about what anybody else has to say, right? Tia, I'm sure there's people that, oh yeah, Tia doing her near-death experience stuff, because I get it too. Like, oh, here he goes talking about the near-death experience. Like, I'm not pushing anything on you. I'm just sharing my experience. But some people call me bad names. Some people tell me I'm doing bad things, and I appreciate your perspective and feedback, but I just don't see it that way. All I'm doing is sharing my experience. So if you don't like it, here's something that goes along with it. So SW4 in sales. I was #1 in 5 sales organizations. I've been a marketer. I help people in many ways, but SW4 applies to anything you choose to do or not do. In you being you, fully and unapologetically, some SW4 is going to kick in. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. No matter what you do, some will love it. No matter what you do, some won't. No matter what, so what? Someone's waiting. Just keep being you fully and unapologetically. Because what happens is you can have thousands or hundreds of people saying how amazing and how awesome it is, but you got one person saying that's crap. You suck. Guess where our focus goes? We overlook all the amazing praise, and we just focus on that one person. How can they think that? Like, and guess what? You're just like, I'm gonna be me fully and unapologetically, knowing no matter what I do, some people won't like it. And that's their choice. That's their perspective. Don't worry about it. Keep moving on. Keep being you fully and unapologetically. So hopefully that helps you and everyone else watching this as well, Tia.
I want to talk to you about this amusement park a little bit more because I find that very interesting. Is that kind of why we come to this planet, for this amusement park adventure?
We come here, yes, that's the answer. And we actually have like a meeting with a lot of, like, first of all, we're tapped into the source. So when you're tapped in the source, like I can do anything. Like you're not used, like it, so they actually kind of talk you out of, like, are you sure you want to do all that? Because you put this agenda out there, like, I want to do this and this. Is like, that's a lot. Like you know, you feel confident now, but when you're in that, I mean, it's like a lot of people get kicked out of boot camp, right? They sign up for boot camp, but then they get in there and they realize it's a lot, and they can't. They get sent home, right? So, like, so you're getting guided on. Well, you're kind of being a little overzealous here. Let's take away this and that, and just, this is pretty much good enough. So, anyhow, we have this plan, and we want to go experience this. But then we have that memory erasure, and we now have to learn without knowing that we are a part of the source. And right behind me, like that's the view over my computer, is the ocean. If I go down to the ocean with this and fill it up with water, that's ocean water in it. We are connected to the source, and we are just like this water. If it were from the ocean, is that ocean water? We are a part of source. Right? So I kind of give the body analogy. Our body has trillions of cells in it. Well, humanity has about 8 billion cells in humanity. We are one of those cells that plays a certain part, right? And so if we can just come to realize, being you fully and unapologetically, if you're a cell in the heart, your job is here, but you shouldn't be talking smack about the thigh, the cell in the thigh, and vice versa. Like it's amazing how the cells fight amongst I'm better than that cell, right? Like we all play together in this body of humanity. It's kind of a funny thing, but if you can just picture, and that's where, if you're just me, I'm me fully and unapologetically, you be you fully and unapologetically, like regardless of where you fall in the cells of humanity, you have your unique personality, experience, and perspective. Be that and do that, and also recognize everyone else is playing their part too, and just be okay with that. And that's and there's a good book out there called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. The Four Agreements. And 2 of the 4 agreements are when my emotions start to get triggered. So people can say and do things, and we can choose to receive it. And when I feel my emotions starting to rise, I ask myself these 2 questions, because it's 2 of the 4 agreements. One is never take anything personally. So I ask myself, I feel my emotions rising. What am I taking personally? And then if I feel my emotions rising, so that's the first question, what am I taking personally? That's one of the 4 agreements. The other one is, um, um, never take anything personally. I'll never make any assumptions. What assumption am I making? So I'm taking something personally or making an assumption. So instead of letting my anger continue to rise, that's a technique I've developed to mitigate that and put my energy in check. I must be taking something personally or making an assumption. So what is it that I'm taking personally, or what assumption am I making? And then if it's in a conversation, I'll say, hey, listen, this is important to you, as I can tell it's important to me as well. I can feel my emotions kind of starting to rise because I'm kind of taking it personally a little bit, and I'm also making this assumption. Let's talk about, is this assumption correct, or am I misinterpreting that? Right. So it can be talked out instead of going down that path of letting the anger win type of stuff. So forgot how we got there, but that's here's where we are.
We were talking about if our reason for coming to Earth was to experience the amusement park.
Yes, yes. And so now, like even if you've been to Disney before, you're pretty excited to go again. Even if you rode those rides before, you're excited to ride them again. And and some of us are even wanting to explore different areas of the park, right? Yeah, we've been there before, but we haven't been over to this area of the park yet. So it's a whole mixture of this greatest amusement park in the universe. It's very, very similar. And I'm happy you like that, because it's kind of a way that people can understand that important lesson. What if this is one of the greatest amusement parks in the world or in the universe? Like, just like we get excited to go to amusement park, regardless of how many times we've been there, um, you still have some fun. And it's with people, it's with sometimes the same crowds. Like, so anyhow, that's the amusement park one. You might like this analogy too. So the water behind me, actually down on the island a few months ago, there was Jeff Bezos's $500 million sailing yacht that was here. And next to it was the music mogul Geffen's $500 million yacht. So there were 2 $500 million yachts there. I took a selfie and said, these 2 yachts are $1 billion worth of yachts. Our body, this is the other thing, our body is the most amazing, and some people might say, well, how do you know that? Well, go with me. What if our body is the most amazing vehicle in the universe? What does that mean? Those yachts are impressive. $500 million for Bezos's, $500 million for Geffen's. Our body, if someone who is a billionaire that's gone could, because you can go rent big yachts, you can go rent planes, you can rent houses. But if a billionaire who's gone could rent your body, my body, your body who's watching this, guess how much? So let's just use Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs, creator of Apple, died with $60 billion or something like that. Or he'd be worth way more now if he stuck around, but he left at like 56 years old. If he could rent my body, your body, as long as you could fog a mirror and your brain didn't have aphasia, like you could communicate the thoughts you're trying to think into words, how much would he rent your body for one day? The answer is all. Because you can go rent yachts, you can go rent planes, you can go rent houses. Our body, our vehicle, think about that. Our body is, in my opinion, the most precious, most unique vehicle in the universe. And that kind of proves it. If a dead billionaire could rent your body for one day, how much would it be? All. 6 billion, 20 billion, 50 billion for one day. But they can't. And that's supply and demand. If it were possible and it was something that was doing on, then supply and demand would kick that price down. But right now it's impossible. So keep that in mind. So while we're here, why is it then we're in this physical realm? We take care of our cars. We take care of our boats. If you have boats, we take care of our homes. We take care of our stuff. Are you taking care of your body as well as you would if it was your favorite car, your favorite yacht, a plane that someone gifted you? You take care of it at that level, right? So what does it mean by taking care of your body? Well, getting proper sleep. The sleep is a very important aspect. Staying hydrated is another important aspect. What you ingest into your body. Would you put crap into your fuel tank of your amazing car? You wouldn't even put, if you don't have your dream car yet, you wouldn't put crap fuel into your car right now, right? Put the good fuel into your body. What you ingest, the foods, the waters, keep an eye on that. Put the good stuff in. And also, just like a ship, if the ship stays at dock, it's gonna deteriorate faster than if it's out at sea. Your body needs movement as well. So those are the simple aspects to properly be the caretaker of your body, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, because it's not just about the reflection in the mirror. And I acknowledge you for tapping in and listening to this, because you're separating yourself from probably 98 out of 100 people. Because guess what? 98 out of 100 people are doing. They're what's called Napoleon Hill in his books uh, calls them drifters. And he basically says 98 out of 100 people are drifting through life, just letting life push them around. You are here tapping into this. You're a non-drifter, meaning you are where you are, you know where you're going, and you're tapping into the things that are going to help you get to where you want to go. You're curious, you're exploring. You're not tapping into the time wasting activities, at least from my perspective. For me choosing to be here, that tells me a lot about you. So I commend you for being here on that. So be that non-drifter versus the drifter. But I was explaining this to my nephews last night. It's like when we leave the driveway here, we usually have a destination as to where we're going on the island, right? Just kind of like the amusement park. Like when you're walking around, you kind of know which ride you're going on next. But sometimes you might just say, hey, let's just wander around and see which one catches our eye. That's cool too. But go with that intentionality. Here's where I am, here's where I'm going. Walk with that purpose, being in that present moment, yourself fully and unapologetically.
Would that be someone that you would call a conscious creator?
Absolutely. Yes. 100%.
I
Yes.
love the analogies that you use, like the cell of the body, because it makes so much sense. I struggle to understand oneness, and that is a really great way to explain this oneness. You're all part, or we are all part of humankind, each of us putting in what we were meant to put in, doing our part. So that's really a beautiful way of explaining it. Are you still able to kind of tap into that other place, like come to that feeling, bring it back, remember it?
No, other than just appreciation of having a second chance. That's another thing. Like it's like imagine being at the music park and they're like, all right, come, all right, Tia, you got to come with us. You're leaving. They're like, whoa, but I'd rather, I still have some things I want to ride. And just getting that second chance, like, all right, we normally don't do this, but go back, go have some fun. Like, so I just feel so gifted to have this second chance. And I'm not looking to waste it, right? If you're getting escorted out and they let you go back, it's a whole different perspective. Like, whoa, like I was on a path of workaholism. Like I was working. I was actually workaholism is an addiction that oddly enough is one that is bragged about. I work and I used to pound my chest. Well, I work from this in the morning till this at night. And I was bragging actually to one of the guys that worked with Tony Robbins. And he actually gave me some insights. I'll share here. This might be powerful for people that are in that workaholic mode too. He's like, man, Tom, he's like, I can tell you're saying that to brag because workaholism is one of the addictions that people brag about, but I'm not going to pat you on the back. He's like, actually, that saddens me deeply. He's like, that actually has me in pain. Because if you're working from 7 in the morning till 8 at night, and this is back in about March of 2002, he said, that tells me that, well, first of all, how much time are you spending with your brand new son? My son was born on February 22nd, 2002. He's like, because it can't be much, if any. And he said, oh, by the way, how's it working out with you and your new wife? So you must be feeling real important, right? And it was like a burning stake through my heart when he said that. And I used to not even be able to say it without tearing up. And he said, so if you want to impress me, get the same results in half the amount of time. And in my mind, immediately, I'm like, that's impossible. Well, that leads to another quote. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So you have to bridge that gap. What if it isn't? What if it is possible? How would I get the same results in half the amount of time? And then he hit me with this. He's like, but guess what? Now you're working normal hours. So now that's still not impressive, but it is on the right path. So he's like, then you do it again. How can I get the same results in the same amount of time? Same amount of your time, right? So instead of you doing it all, how can you systemize, automate, get team members to do things so that it decreases your amount of time? And then reinvest that into the other things that are important in your life, your health and your relationships, because it's not just all about money. So the experience I had, the near-death experience, helped me transition into embracing that strategy. And it's been a game changer for me and for the clients that I've helped. I hit them with that challenge. You know, the goal is to get the same amount of results in half the amount of time and then reinvest that now extra time into not just going to Vegas and doing stupid things, but into your key relationships. The first one with yourself. Let's help you step up and be that owner, caretaker of your amazing vehicle, your body, right? So getting you from, and I've had clients that lost 70 pounds, 80 pounds, like just from transitioning from being that workaholic to putting a high priority on taking care of their body. And guess what? Now they got more energy. Now And here's when talking near-death experiences, it's difficult because we have the ending point, but I feel when we do make those choices, that's why I said the multiverse. If he stayed on that same path of being unhealthy, his ending point would have been that choose your own adventure path. But when he chose to put priority of his health and lost 70 pounds, now he's on a different path to extend. So there is ways to extend the different paths, if that makes sense, just like the choose your own adventure book. So there isn't one set point. If you make choices to stay on that same path, it's going to be earlier. So basically how I explain this to people is, look, think 20 years ahead. First of all, let's go 20 years back. And 20 years is a little after September 11th, 2001. So most of us know pretty much where we were and what we were doing 20 years ago. If you could go back and consult yourself, what would be some advice you would tell yourself? That's a very important conversation to have. So I would have you, what would you impart on yourself 20 years ago? And now the rub of that is, if everything's happening at once, this is the cool part. There's been times in my past when I look back and I was disappointed and I was down and depressed, but there came a moment where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get through this. I stood up, I dusted myself off. What if the conversation you have right here, right now, because it's all happening at once, has an impact on that person? What if that motivational chat you had in that deepest, darkest moment was that moment that helped you say, you know what? I'm going to get through this. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Well, all right, I don't feel so great, but I'm going to make it past this. What if your conversation with that past self was the impetus to help you turn that corner from depression to stepping up and getting back in the game of life? Similarly, going forward, 20 years from now, there's versions of us that are buried and dead up to multimillionaire to billionaire status, depending on how lofty you believe. And you got to ask yourself, what version of me 20 years from now? Health, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationships, personal, professional, social relationships, finances, my today money, my tomorrow money, my contribution. Which version of me do I feel is the best, the most desirable for me? Set that target of shooting like the things that Batman used to shoot that would stick in the wall and you got the rope to get over there. Stick it in there and then have that person 20 years from now come back and have a consultation with you. And I had this conversation when I was about 40 years old. I'm 51 years old now as we cross paths. And when I was 40, my 60-year-old version came back and had a rough one with me. He's like, listen, you're the guy that talks people into stepping out of their comfort zone. You're the guy talking about people to live their most amazing life. Look at you, Mr. Comfort Zone. Look at you, keeping it secret. Like, it's not your job to keep it secret. It's your job to help go inspire and share these things with other people and help other people. And so that 60-year-old version of me kicked my butt at 40. And now at 51, my 71-year version is like, yeah, you're on the right track. Keep doing what you're doing, right? You can step it up a little bit here and there, but you're on the right track. You're taking care of your health. You're taking care of the key people in your life, relationship wise, and you're on the right path with your finances. Keep doing what you're doing, but there are various ways you can make improvements. He didn't have to yell at me the way that he did 10, 11 years ago. So that's something I would have you consider, having a conversation. Two of the most important conversations you can have, that one with yourself 20 years ago and the one 20 years from now, that best version of yourself, not the one that's mediocre version of you, that best version, the healthiest, the most vibrant, the most amazingly successful and peaceful and joyous version of you. Come back and have that consultation with you in your mind, of course, but it's a very powerful conversation.
This has been so enlightening. Tom, if my viewers wanted to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Go to tombeal.com, TOMBEAL.com. Have a whole bunch of free value that goes deeper than this there, to include an iOS app and some downloads and a whole bunch of free stuff there that if you like this, I dive deeper into it at TOMBEAL.com.
And if you had one message to leave with the viewers today, what would that be?
Embrace your unique personality, experience, and perspective. Know that you are loved. You are good enough. You are worthy. You are loved. Know that you, just like I said, I know they had more for me to accomplish. There's more for you to accomplish. Step up and be you fully and unapologetically. Embrace the fact that you're at this greatest amusement park in the universe. And my hope is you have the most amazing experiences possible so that everybody that's in your circle, you'll fist bump and say, no one had more fun than us. That's my goal for you. I would have you consider that and take some actions to turn that into your reality.
Thank you so much, Tom. This has been inspiring for me, and I'm sure for my viewers as well. I appreciate you taking the time to come on to my show.
Thanks for having me here, Tia. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I look forward to hearing some of the feedback from the people that see this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near-death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.